So here we are, old Sacramento, and I'm going to tell you a little bit of a reaction to none other than the Tommy Fury versus KSI face-off. I did a reaction for the Dylan Danis versus Logan Paul one. That one is out right now if you guys want to go check it out. But right now, this is literally about KSI and Tommy Fury and what I thought about it. And one of the things that I truly thought about that particular segment of the face-off with Tommy Fury was how controlled Tommy Fury was in the entire thing, but also it brings to light this language that a lot of boxers love to use when it comes to, I guess, giving a grade or giving some sort of merit as to what is considered experience, what is considered a pro, what is considered even an amateur, and even all the way down to what is considered world level, right? So this is the arguments that Tommy Fury had going on. Now with KSI, he didn't really have much of that. In fact, there were a lot of things that KSI had really missed out on in terms of really just hammering down towards Tommy Fury. Like, for example, when he brings up this aspect of, well, I'm more experienced than you, and I've fought better guys than you, KSI should have been like, well, who is that exactly? Because it feels like as if Tommy is just bullying the entire merit of this whole conversation based on the fact of a couple of things. One, he's Tyson Fury's brother. Two, he's quote-unquote the more experienced boxer based on the fact that he took some kind of conventional route, right? But in reality, you got to think, right, how much of that, truly matters, if it really matters at all. And I tend to think it only matters what happens when you're in the ring. Because guess what? In every part of your career, whether you are KSI or whether you are Tommy Fury or whether you are Paddy Pimblett or whether you are Conor McGregor, but especially if you are a starting prospect or a rookie, those are just natural questions they're always going to be asking about you. They're going to ask, well, what is it that this guy has that is going to make him victorious over the more experienced guy? And that is the quintessential conversation that most of these face-offs, pre-fights often resort to when you're dealing with a situation of a prospect fighting, let's say, veteran guys. And I urge you to look at all the fights that deal with a veteran and a prospect, and I guarantee you're always going to see the same thing over and over again. You're going to see the same conversations pop up. And what is that? Well, you're not experienced enough. You didn't go through these many rounds. You didn't go through a puncher. You didn't go through this. It's always something. It's always something. But you know what? The beauty of that whole entire thing, why it's always something, is because it gives us something to talk about in terms of fight promotion, in terms of intrigue to the fight. Can KSI really do it? Because he's not really an experienced boxer. He hasn't really done it, even though he has done it in an amateur, some would say white-collar YouTuber setting. But in reality, one of the things that people really have to understand when it comes down to it, no matter what the pre-fight banter is always going to be, a fight is always going to be a fight, and none of the things that you say will matter in the end. Even if you were the guy that won and the moral high ground is on your side, it wouldn't matter. Nothing that you say before the fight matters, win or lose. And I think that is one of the most important aspects to never forget when you are dealing with pre-fight banter.
You're an entrepreneur. Well,
that's all that you can really say about that particular
start your own business.
face-off with KSI and Tommy Fury. You can't really go off of too much of that. It was just based on a lot of, well, I'm this guy, you're not this guy, I am this guy, I have this experience and this and that. you didn't really knock anyone out. You didn't really have the proper competition. But in reality, you got to think, Tommy Fury does have more of the competitive experience in comparison to KSI. The only person that the only person that's ever really given KSI any problems was Logan Paul. And you know what? Here's another thing about Logan Paul. He is such a mystery because it's very deceptive in the way that you want to look at it. In hindsight, we could look at it and say maybe JJ, or in this case, none other than KSI, okay, was on the verge of beating Logan Paul, or was on the verge of getting beat himself by Logan Paul until a couple of illegal shots. And then in the first amateur fight that they had together, guess what happened? They went to a draw. So it's very deceptive. You can't take a lot out of it. And then he goes in there against none other than, what's his name, Floyd Mayweather, and he looked great. But what can you really tell off of that based on the fact that he just has the natural size advantage? Does that show that Floyd is actually that good to be dealing with somebody that tall and long and big? Or is it that Logan Paul was just really that good that he was able to make the best of all time look like the way that he did? And again, I'm only talking about Logan Paul because I'm trying to compare the dynamic of KSI's pedigree in boxing. That's what I'm trying to base all of these off to, because it's very deceptive, extremely deceptive, in whether really knowing of how good KSI is. And there's just so many unknowns. But the problem is, all those unknowns, none of the boxing pundits and pugilists want to take a look at. They just want to look at the stats of what they saw prior to the fight. Now, if you ask me, am I under the impression that Tommy Fury is going to win? Yeah, I think he is. I think he is. But why am I saying that? Am I just saying that because I'm hearing everybody else say it, and that it's just the right thing to say at the right time? You never know. That's why they call it the theater of the unknown, and all we can do is sit back and enjoy the fights.